Hi, this is Holly with A Holly Jolly Life, coming to you from my humble home kitchen. I'm actually starting to think about changing the name to Holly's Humble Home Cooking. Anyway, I wanted to share with y'all a pro tip that we found out at the start of this pandemic. Whenever we couldn't find flour anywhere, everybody was out of flour, everybody wanted to bake bread, the shelves were like empty of bread and beans and rice and all that stuff. We found out that we could buy a 25-pound bag of flour, and our family of 7 uses it enough to justify buying a 25-pound bag of flour. But where do you store that? Do you want to just dump it in a 5-gallon bucket? No, that doesn't seem, even the cleanest 5-gallon bucket just doesn't seem sanitary to just dump flour right in. So we store our flour. We buy 25-pound bag of flour, and we store it in this. And this bucket is actually cheaper than the buckets that are labeled food grade, and it is food grade, the same food grade, same food grade plastic that they use for this. And we store it in 2-gallon plastic bags, so you can just pull out what you need. This one's about empty, and other ones just fit right in there to where it's not loose. And I think that makes it more convenient because you can just pull it out whenever you need it. And like I said, this is my humble home kitchen. There are 7 of us that live in this house, and it's a pretty small house, and it is very cluttered but clean. Anyway, I'm just gonna fill up my flour canister before we get started, and then I'll show you how to make artisan bread. Okay, so I already made one batch, and now I'm gonna show you how to do the other one. And I made the other batch off camera, and now I'm gonna do this batch, and then I'm gonna show you how to rise both batches and how to combine them in the same pan to cook. It's best if you have a Dutch oven. I've only ever seen a Dutch oven used for one though, and I make a double recipe and I turn them into rolls. And they're just like really hard bread rolls, but not, they're hard on the outside, crunchy on the outside, but really soft on the inside. I don't know, it's hard to describe unless you're eating it, but it's amazing. And I put 2 pieces of parchment paper on the bottom of this, and then 1 on top of the rolls to keep them from sticking to the lid, and I'll show you how to do that later. I just forgot to show you what kind of pan you're gonna need for this. So if you're mixing it by hand, you're gonna need a bowl, and you're gonna need a wooden spoon, something really, really stiff to mix it with, or it's not gonna mix up right. And the consistency that you're looking for is about like biscuit dough, even though it doesn't have any fat in it. That's just, everybody knows what biscuit dough looks like, right? I'm in the South, everybody knows what biscuit dough looks like. We're not talking about cookies, we're talking about Southern biscuits. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. This is a very, very, very forgiving recipe. She's not leveling the flour. Oh my goodness. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. And this is 4. Boom. I'm also going to use a dry measuring cup for the water, because this recipe, like I said, super forgiving. It doesn't care. It's just glad you're making it. Okay. I'm gonna do the flour first. It doesn't even matter that I had the yeast on here earlier. And the everything, you know, if you're mixing egg whites, then you have to be, and I know that was more than 1 teaspoon of salt. It's cool, I like it like that. If you're mixing egg whites, you need to have an immaculately clean bowl, because they won't form any kind of stiff peaks if you don't. If you're doing artisan bread, it doesn't care, it just loves you. Okay, 1, 2, 3 teaspoons of yeast. So there's 4 cups of flour, 3 teaspoons of yeast, and some salt. 1 teaspoon is a little bit more than a teaspoon of salt. And I'm fixing to put some hot water in here after I mix this up. The point of mixing that up is you don't want all the salt in one place, and you don't want all the yeast in one place. You just want it kind of mixed in. I gotta get my water. I'm coming back. And you want your water warm, but not hot. And you don't want to spill it on your tripod if you're filming. 1. 2. Okay, here we go. Do you see how it's pulling away from the ball right there? That's what we're after. There, look at that. That kind of looks like biscuit dough. It's kind of lumpy, just kind of rough. That is what we want to see. Come on, get off there. Okay. It's not perfect. We're not looking for perfect. We're looking for just good enough. This is exactly what it's supposed to look like though. So now we are going to take this out, put it in another bowl because I need this mixer bowl for something else. And then I'm going to wash this bowl and this, blah, blah, that doesn't matter. And put this to rise. And it's going to rise for an hour. So now that both batches of the bread are sitting there waiting, they're ready to be going for their first rise. So they have to rise the first time for at least an hour. Just an hour is fine. And then you do what you got to do with them. And then they have to be risen again for their second rise for 35 minutes. I just got my oven ready to put them on the first rise. It's just about ready. The first rise, for the first rise, I have a gas oven and you have to play around with yours to see what works for you. But I preheat my oven by setting the broiler function on high for 2 minutes, exactly 2 minutes. As soon as this timer goes off, I have to run over there and turn it off so that I don't melt my plastic bowls. And then you fill the bottom rack. If you burn your hand, it ain't my fault. This is what I do. This works for me, it might not work for you. Okay, so I just turned that off. It was my broiler function. And this is what you ought to be able to do if this works for your oven. This isn't even warm. It's not hurting me at all. So now if I were to reach up here where the broiler is, I would burn the crap out of myself because I've done that before. So don't do that. And just stick these in there. The oven is off. The broiler's off. Everything's off. I stick those in there. They're side by side, buddies. And then I set the timer for an hour. And then I'll come back to that in an hour. And then I'll come back to the rest of the video. I know these flowers look pitiful, but my daughter got them for her birthday and she's not ready to let them go yet. Anyways, I'll be back in an hour. Okay, so my artisan bread is done rising and I have to get out my 3 pieces of parchment paper. 1, 2, 3. And I'm fixing to show you why I'm getting those out. Here's one. See how much it rose? Okay. It has already started to deflate. I want you to see this though. See how sticky and stretchy and stringy that is? That's what's gonna make all the beautiful holes in the bread. Artisan bread has a lot of holes on the inside. It's pretty dense, so good. I mean, really, it's like so easy and it seems like you worked a really, really hard, long time on it. Like you had to knead it for hours or something. No, you didn't. It's totally like a cheap yeast bread. Okay, so. And if you're on keto and I'm making all this and it's just making you hungry, then skip this one. I'm sorry. I know it's January and everybody's working on losing weight, or supposed to be, or whatever, but not everybody is. We've had to do a slow, spaced out kind of get together situation with our family and extended family, so we'll start cutting back a little later on in this month. I'm trying to eat healthier. But for right now, we shall bake bread. And I mean, you might watch this video in like 3 years from now, so who knows? Just saying. All right, here we go. Now, there we go. Here, which one should we do first? I think this one. This one looks very liquidy for some reason. All I'm doing is taking my scraper. You can't even see because I keep forgetting to aim the camera. Okay, taking my scraper and I am just scraping the dough off of the plastic the best that I can. I love this little scraper. I got it on Amazon for like 71 cents and I had to wait a couple months for it to come because it came all the way from China. Sometimes shipping takes a really long time. At 71 cents, it was worth the wait, and I use it all the time. Okay. I don't like having this on me. It's still some good. Still some good. Okay, here we go. Flour. And this is fixing to shrink. And that's okay, because we want it to. This is gonna drive me nuts. I wash my hands too much, and I have asthma. I do have asthma, but I have eczema, so I have to be careful about having dough and stuff on my hands. Okay, here we go. I need to figure something out to where I don't feel like y'all are having an earthquake every time I'm trying to do something with this. See how much this shrunk? I don't know if you can tell. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on this other one. So that's it. And if you were just gonna make a lump of dough, like if you were just gonna make, get off of me, okay. If you were just gonna make, I have brain fog. What was I gonna say? If you're just gonna make a loaf, then you're done. You stop here. You just pick it up, all one clump, and you just plop it down, and that's it, you're done. You gotta try to not get it all over you like I just did. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing mine a little bit different. That's usually how they teach you to make artisan bread. I make artisan bread rolls. And my bad. Everything's okay. I just don't like to waste it. I could probably spray this with something, but I don't. I just do it this way. And then See how much just taking that plastic off shrunk this? See how jiggly it is? That's all good signs. Ready? And we just cover it. And are you trying to do a photo bomber? We just,
can I?
No, just cover it in the flour. And then you just want to scrape, 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 scrape. If you need by, you can get by. Okay, so there we go. This, again, if you were just gonna make artisan bread, then you would just pick this up and put it in a thing. But this is how I'm gonna do it. I don't like how hard it is to cut artisan bread. And we always want to eat it as soon as it comes out of the oven and not wait for it to cool off. This is gonna look like a mess. That's not helping. There we go. Do you see that one? You just grab a clump, cover it in flour. The flour's all at the bottom of the bowl. Just move the other, you can't see what I'm doing because I moved you over there. Okay. Yep. Grab you a clump, wad it up, toss it in the flour. Stick it just like this. Right back over here. Just plop it down. The cool thing about separating it out like this is that it just breaks apart whenever you're ready to serve it. You can just pull it. You can literally just break bread. And this, whenever it does its second rise, is going to rise all the way to the top. This is a double recipe. So this is a double batch of artisan bread. So this is a total of 8 cups of flour in here. There we go. The monster. Okay, here we go. So I did all that. They're in here, right? This is 2 batches of artisan bread. And I am going to cover this up with parchment paper. And the reason that I do that is because I bake it in this pan with this lid, and every single time I don't cover it with parchment paper, it rises to the lid, and then whenever it bakes, I can't pull it out of the pan. I can't pull it out of the pan without pulling the entire pan up with the bread stuck to it, and it's 450 degrees and a little bit terrifying. So what I do is I just put this parchment paper down right directly on top of the rolls, and then I just put the lid down right on top of that, and then whenever it bakes, it doesn't stick, and I can just take it out really easily. So that's what I do, and now I am going to let these do their second rise for 35 minutes. Second rise, 35 minutes. I can hear y'all copying me in there. Peanut gallery in the living room. So back to the artisan bread. We've had it rising for its second rise on the back of the stovetop. I talked to you about how I did my parchment paper. I told you how it was gonna rise. It's stuck. I'm gonna leave that alone so I don't disturb its rise. Put the lid back on, and I'm gonna stick it in the 450 degree oven for 35 minutes with the lid on, and then I will take the lid off and cook it for another 10 minutes. So 45 minutes total at a 450 degree oven, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So we're back to the artisan bread, and my timer just went off, and I have to cook it for 10 more minutes. But first, I have to remove the piece of parchment paper and the lid. It's gonna be really hot because it's a 450 degree oven. And I really don't wanna drop my phone in there because it would probably melt. It smells so good. Okay, here is the lid, and that is so, so, so hot. And I don't know if you can see bread. And you can. Let me just throw that down. Oh, this is trying to fly away. Okay, and we just want to brown the top of that. You can see where I had separated it earlier, where I made it into rolls. Anyway, I'm gonna put that back in the oven. It's gotta go for 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes, and then it's done. Okay, that is the sound of my artisan bread being done, and I'm very excited to see it. Oh, so hot. Grab my hand towel, or whatever these things are called. That is the artisan bread whenever it's done. Whenever it's done. Perfect. Okay, so thank you for sticking to the end of this video. This has been Holly on the Holly Jolly Life, showing you how I make artisan bread, my take on artisan bread rolls. And thank you for joining me in my humble home kitchen today, and make every day a holiday. Bye.